practice.
This is the first time we've started a podcast with no arguing, and the topic is about arguing.
Don't introduce the topic yet. Introduce who we are.
I'm Noelle.
And I'm David. I felt like my applause was slightly longer than yours.
Okay, well, then this is Somehow I Marriage, podcast on marriage and processing on air all of our marital difficulties.
Not just processing our marital difficulties, we are processing yours as well.
Mm-hmm. As in the listeners, not as in just my difficulties, right?
That's the way that you took that, then that is the way that we're going to understand it as. Yeah.
Well, so our topic for today is find a wife who will fight with you.
Yeah.
Who can fight with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And are we talking about physical fighting?
No, we draw the line of physical fighting.
No, and I think that's rightly so. In fact, you have not liked when I have made jokes about that.
Well, I have heard, that's true. I have not liked that. But I have heard that the pen is mightier than the sword. So
did you say the sword?
Sword. 100 bad guys with swords. It's the
I'm rubbing off on you.
A sword. But for us, it's more the text message is mightier than the sword, because a lot of our fights happen over text message because we try not to fight in front of the children. So a fun pastime.
Hang on. Why don't we fight in front of the children? Like, maybe we should just try it.
Because they usually take a side. That's part of the problem. Or they'll be like, "Oh, come on, guys," and we're not in the mood for that.
Yeah, no, we have to fight it out. Yeah, like there has to, and that's good too, because I feel like in our fights, and this is a tangential point, we'll come back to the text messages when I feel like it. But when we fight, I feel like I need to have a level of childishness that I need to get out.
You achieve it very well.
I don't need you to say that. I can put in my own input on my level of childishness, but I have to just get it out of my system, I feel like. And then when and this is me personally, like I am not saying this as advice in any sort of way to anybody, really. I think that some things are just, that's the way that you process things or you get through things. Me, I have to, as a husband, have a moment of childishness in the fight. And then, like, I see that.
How long is a moment for you?
It is not 60 seconds. The typical time.
This
it
week,
is.
It was.
And I don't
3 days.
I don't need you or anybody to define it for me. I define it by my own dictionary, not Webster. I wrote it myself. David's dictionary. See it. It's revised like every day. Which is more than the definitions
the words
of our
will
culture.
Be spelled differently.
Yeah, there's a lot of slang in there.
Day.
Yeah, a lot of swear words. And so that's for me. Like, and I think when I reach that point of childishness, like I recognize it, and then I don't know, it's kind of an eye opener for me. Like, okay, I had my fun. Now it's time to apologize for something that I didn't do usually. Okay. that you didn't think that you did, but of which I have a written record. Yeah. Okay. So, well, see, now we're going down a rabbit hole inside of another rabbit hole, because that was supposed to be a tangential point, but now you raise a good point, is like, why do you bring up, we'll get back to the text messages, but why do you bring up every single bad thing that I've ever done in my entire life?
Okay.
After one thing that we're fighting about.
No, here's the thing. If you, like, okay, there's the one thing that you deny doing, and you're like, no, I didn't do that, or I didn't mean it that way, or whatever. And I'm like, well, this one thing is not the first time that this one thing has happened. Here are the 8 other instances for your helpful discernment. And so then I will bring them up in detail, not because I'm still mad about it and holding it against you, but to give evidence to the current thing of which I am angry.
False. This is why you are wrong and I am less wrong, is that you bring up stuff from the past, but you have no idea how to connect the dots. Connecting the dots is not a girl thing. Like have been great at coloring the lines, but connecting the dots, we excelled at that as young men in kindergarten.
Wait. Are you implying that I was not good at connecting the dots?
No,
because I was.
You like connected A to B to C. You think that it's connecting A to B to C, but it's really like P to 4 to number A to letter 7. Like you are all over the place in these connections. Like, well, you did this the other day, and that relates to this, which you did 7 years ago.
No.
And there's no pattern. There's no correlation. It's just random.
Just because you can't follow the path, the GPS, if you will, doesn't mean that the dots are not in fact connected.
The GPS, your GPS is connected to PMS. That's what,
okay. Wow. Yeah. Try that one on for size and see where that gets you.
But you bring up GPS. What satellite are you connected to that you are making these connections?
No, this is well, okay. Let's pause on. Let's back up from the very beginning. So when we first were dating, we never fought, like ever, and
That's
people
true.
would make fun of us about that. And
Yes.
I really thought there was nothing that we would ever fight about.
Yes,
right?
Apparently we were fighting. I don't remember what we were fighting about because I'm a guy. I don't hold these grudges. But we were fighting about something. And what did I butt dial your sister or something like that?
Yes.
And she was listening to our fight. I butt dialed her during our fight, and she was listening. And what did she report back to us? Like, call us later, or what? Next time we saw her, she was like, "Hey, so I heard you guys fight. That was weird.
Yeah,
like, was that a fight?
So
like, what was it?
To each other? It was awkward for her. So, but
because she's raging, she's full of rage during her fights.
Well, one of our first fights was during marriage prep, I believe, and it was when we attended this communications workshop, and the communications workshop instructed us to, and we literally had this square called the floor, but it instructed us to give one person the floor for 2 minutes. Then the next person had like 30 seconds or a minute to sum up what the other person had
paraphrase.
said. Paraphrase. But you couldn't argue back yet because
right.
you needed to make sure that you understood what they said.
Yeah.
When we fought using the floor, that was the most disastrous fight that we've ever had. And we were in the car. I don't even remember what we were fighting about, but we were in the car and you literally took the floor and threw it out the window. And then we just hashed it out and we apologized and we were fine. It was terrible.
That sounds like a great move on my part. I, for one, can say that the floor does not work for me personally. Again, this is not marriage advice for anybody. Maybe somebody out there is like, the floor method. I have the floor. You give the permission to the person to speak or whatever. Like that works for you. But for me, again, I have to have that moment of childishness, like this aspect of childishness in the fight, to just get it out of my system, and then I can reach that sorry point. But for me, the floor was dragging things out because I don't know why we never reached the sorry point. It was just always the person saying how they felt, not using certain statements like you statements or whatever, like you, but it's always like I, and then you had to go back and paraphrase what they said. And I feel at one point, I remember at one point you rudely paraphrased So what I hear you saying is
that you're being a jerk and
no,
you don't
you
care
said
about my
that
feelings,
you're an idiot.
something like that.
What I hear?
No. Idiot has for us become a term of endearment. I would have used the word
That's
jerk.
true.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's pretty hurtful.
Yeah.
Hateful even.
I know.
Yes.
Sorry.
I'm okay. I've gotten over it because I don't hold grudges like you. So yeah, like that doesn't work. We fight now. I think we've been pretty good about fighting or not fighting rather, and fighting. And I would chalk what?
Do you think we're good at not fighting? We just came off of a 3-day fight.
Yeah, that's a rarity. Like, so, okay, so what happened? Yeah, what happened was we decided, Noelle and I decided that we would show to it originally was the older kids, but then it just became like, okay, everybody can see this. We decided to show the kids the Passion of the Christ. And we've had friends who, they've shown their kids the Passion of the Christ from a very young, even younger than our kids. And then we've had friends who are just like, yeah, nope, not till they're like 18 or something like that, and so I think just we had reached a level, everybody's going to be different. We had reached that stage where it's like our kids, I think that they're ready. Like, I don't know why we thought that they were ready.
I didn't think that.
You didn't think that?
You thought that.
Well, what?
I was thinking for the older kids, we could watch it in little bits and then discuss it.
Well, how did it happen with all the kids then at the same time?
I don't know.
We just didn't
bad
get a babysitter.
Parental judgment.
On your part.
On our part.
It's
our
a team
collective
effort.
part. I tried to put my foot down.
I was less wrong. You were wrong. Okay. So either way, we screwed up. We allowed all the kids to be there. And one of our kids was horrified at the beginning of the movie. Everybody was fine until there's that like crazy scene with Judas where he's like sitting under the bridge or whatever, and Jesus got knocked off it and is just hanging by these chains, gets pulled back up by the guards or whatever, the temple soldiers, and there's this moment where Judas is just like sitting there under the bridge, kind of like dismayed about what's going on. He's rubbing his lips, because he like whatever. Spiritually significance of betraying Jesus with a kiss and
I never
all of
noticed
it.
That.
Oh, that's because you're not as holy as I am.
So I was paying attention to the crying child.
He wasn't crying yet, but anyway, this demon, like, we assume that's a demon. I guess it could have been a ghost, but I don't know. Like, we'll just say it's a demon. A very scary looking figure appears. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm summing it up. Are you going to paraphrase this?
You're like, are you telling us about the movie? Or are you telling us about our
Everybody's probably already seen the movie. I guess I don't know why I'm assuming that somebody hasn't seen the movie. If you haven't seen this movie, you shouldn't even be listening to the show. All right. Anyway, so basically, yeah, like the demon appears like right there. Our one of our sons like freaks out, just is crying inconsolably, and
and so I stopped the movie.
You stopped the movie,
and I said, "Listen, buddy, I know that this is scary, but guess what? You know the end of the story. You know that God is good and God defeats the devil, and there's nothing to worry about." And so I give this whole pep talk, and David's like, "Let's start the movie."
You
again.
gave this pep talk, and it didn't do jack squat. Okay, so
he stopped crying.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
We're gonna have a fight right now. So what I hear you saying is that he stopped crying, but I feel as though he did still cry.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but
you can have the floor now.
So David wanted to start the movie again.
Well, can I say, because I wanted to start the movie again because it was like, okay, guys, I know that was super scary, but I know that there's gonna be this part coming up where it's this triumphant moment where Jesus stands up to the high priest, like he just stares him down, stands up to him, and he says like the truth boldly, and this beautiful convictious
David's dictionary,
convictious. Yes, look it up. Not Webster's, David's dictionary.
It's a vicious conviction.
Yes, it's an awesome moment. So like, rather than stop the movie on that like demonic part where we just see like this demon rattle us, scare us, whatever, let's stop the movie at this triumphant. That's another different word I almost said. Moment where yeah, like that he can end the movie on that high note. and you did
refused
not
to
want
turn
to
it
go
back
there.
on because he was crying and begging us not to turn it back on. So then we had this, it became a bigger deal. That's what always happens, I feel like, in marital fights. There is something on its face that's very relatively small, but because of however the other person is interpreting it, or their experience that day, or whatever is going through, it just magnifies this incident into a huge incident. So this turned into a 3-day fight for David and I, of silent treatment, of refusals to apologize. And
because I felt, and you didn't say this, like, because we started a back and forth in front of the kids that was basically like, okay, I think we should go forward. Like, there's this part coming up, and you were like, absolutely not, no. And in that moment, I felt right there, like, okay, I don't know why, but I immediately defaulted to, like, I am the spiritual head of this household, and this is a spiritual issue. So, like, you need to trust in what I'm saying, that I know, what we should do right now, and you should defer to that. Like, that was my mindset. And it was like, and then just from the standpoint of like, oh my gosh, I know, like, don't end this movie like on a low note. Let's end on a high note. So it's like, coming from those two perspectives, you were not budging. And that it was like, to me, that was like I just felt disrespected in that moment.
And I felt like, okay, this kid is crying and begging us not to do this. Why are we going to move forward when he's so upset?
Because he needs to man up.
And we had made such a huge mistake. We should not have done this. And so
it's too late now.
I was feeling terrible. Like, I don't want him to be scared of the passion of Christ. I want him to really love what Jesus has done for us, and to have joy in that. And I was feeling like this was a terrible mistake. We shouldn't have done this. Like, let's not further our mistake here. So, but it became, he felt like, okay, you don't trust me. You don't respect me. And I was like, no, don't you see the whole situation here? We shouldn't have done that. He's not developmentally ready for this movie. So, But it turned into this whole magnified 3-day thing.
Yeah, like you're defending our younger son there, and he's not the youngest, he's like middle child, whatever, like, but you're defending him, his feelings, like what he was going through, and owning like this, oh, we made a mistake kind of thing. And I'm feeling like, betrayed, like disrespected or whatever. And that was kind of a drawn out thing. I don't know why.
I think part of it was because if we look at, and I was thinking about this just the other day, like, not every marital fight has a very clear person in the right and a very clear person in the wrong. Sometimes our different approaches don't match up, and we, in that, say something hurtful or do something wrong. But sometimes it's like, listen, we're not going to fix this. We can't go back and change the situation. We can only move forward. We have to apologize. We have to reconcile. I
still to this day think that if we did what I said to do, then it would have been good. I don't, like, I can't, I still believe that. But after 3 days, like, of just like this, like, yeah, so what are you doing today? Like, like sarcastic, like, whatever, like, oh, sweetie, do you want your dinner now? No.
Right.
Like this 3 days of I don't even think you offered me dinner. This 3 days of like, darkness.
I did offer you dinner, actually, but
what my point was that even if I feel like I was right, like going back, like, and you feel like you were right, in the end, that doesn't matter, because it's been freaking like 3 days and nothing is getting done. Like, we have to, the only right thing to do right now is not in what I thought was the right thing to do at that time, or what you thought to do at that time, but it's just to say sorry.
Right.
That's the only thing left to do.
Right. And that we can continue to defend our positions until we're blue in the face. And
I would still defend my position.
I know you do
right now.
That's why I'm being the bigger person and letting it go. But here's the thing.
That's a trap. I'm not gonna. Honey, you look fine.
We have. Wait, honey, you look fine. Okay. But for
that was. Do I look fat in this? That was a reference to that. You were trying to entrap me.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't understand. I was like, what? I feel fine. What?
Oh, I look too deeply into that. Never mind.
No, wait. I thought you were saying like, if you were like, how are you doing? And I was like, fine. I thought that's what. Anyway. So, but we have had.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
we have had a lot of arguments where no one person has fully admitted fault. And we continue over and over to try to defend our position.
Right.
And sometimes it's not super clear. Like, we can't write this down and be like, oh, well, you shouldn't have played the movie in the first place. Okay. Well, we played the movie. Okay. Well, you could have ended on a different note. Okay. Well, like there's different things we could continue to entrench ourselves in this. But at some point, we have to both humble ourselves enough to be like, all right, that happened. We can forgive each other for what we've done wrong or our perceived wrongs, and then reconcile, and move forward. And that's something that I think has taken us time to get to the point where we are able to do that in a way that is more, healthy, I guess, instead of like just continue to further entrench ourselves into our positions and find allies and, hold it over each other's head to say, okay, we've been fighting about this for a long time. We're not going to fully agree with each other, but we need to reconcile and we need to apologize and move forward.
That was after 3 days time of just like stewing about it. That at that point, I don't even think you really remember what exactly you're mad about, because then you're just mad about other things, like whatever it happened in the span of that 3 days, because you're in a state of madness, like not that kind of crazy,
and then
but like
everything that the other person does just fuels that anger.
Right. At that point, it doesn't even matter the thing that happened. Well, like she disrespected me during the Passion of the Christ.
He didn't even get the kids' shoes on. He wants to torture our kids with the movie and not get them ready for their activities.
Exactly. Thank you.
So
thank you.
Yeah.
Like so at that point when all this stuff is piling up, I think I know I reached a point where I was even not praying at that point. Like I had stopped praying.
I didn't. I prayed a whole rosary.
Good for freaking you. I'm glad you came to your senses.
Oh. Yeah, because I was praying.
You knew what you did wrong, but like I know I reached a point where one, I realized I was not praying because I was just mad, and maybe I could reflect more on that. Like okay, I was mad, but why did I stop praying? But like I know then when I started to pray, that illuminated the whole situation, where not only it was like, okay, I mean, now it's not even about the thing that you were originally mad about. It's like all these other things that just you're fine. I literally could see that I was just finding anything to be mad about. And that's kind of ridiculous. Like you can't stay in that. All right. You can't stay in that mode in a healthy way. That's like trying to frown all the time. Like, no, it's actually easier to not have to exercise those facial muscles to frown. But then also it's just like, I think that what the Lord was doing in my heart was kind of just asking the question, don't you want to move on? Don't, like, why not just move on? Like leave it. It was that kind of thing. And it wasn't words in my heart. It was just this, I think, illumination in prayer, like this illuminating of the events that had happened, but also in the light of how I felt but pouring a light onto that, like in not like a selfish way, like egotistical way, but more just like, do you want to stay here or do you want to like just drop it? And because it's like to pile on stuff again, like I felt I was justified in that moment. Yeah. You're disrespecting me. But like at this point, 3 days later, where I'm tagging on everything else, who freaking cares? Like, because the stuff that I'm tagging on is trivial.
Right. Well, like we had this young couple come up to us one time after a talk that we gave, and they said, what do you do when you've been fighting, but it's really nobody's fault? It's just the situation. And David and I laughed and we're like, no, it's always somebody's fault. It's never just the situation, but the situation can exacerbate everything.
What are you talking about? It's always somebody's fault.
So, I mean, but in our recent fight, it was, a combination of all the things, because there were other people at play. It wasn't just you and I arguing about something. There were other people involved with the kids. So I think while one person may not fully bear the blame, I do think we both fully bear the responsibility of reconciliation. And if you can get to that in marriage, marital conflicts where you agree, we both bear the full responsibility of reconciliation. Then we can move forward and find healing and move on with our day,
Yeah. You were wrong. I was less wrong, but we both are equal in the amount of responsibility towards reconciling. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh, so you agree that you were more wrong?
I agree with your assessment that what I said was right on target. Thank you for that. Cue up
I feel like you have
music.
Said, I feel like you have slighted me, but I cannot prove it. Let me go back and rewatch the show I
hear the kids crying again. You want to show them the movie?
I'm gonna. What movie? Passion of the Christ?
Yeah, you want to show them Passion of the Christ? All the babies are crying.
That was a disaster. We probably can try it again
someday.
But I want you to trust me. Remember how Aladdin reaches out his hand to
yeah, he said, "Do you trust me?" When he was a liar.
Yeah, and then he took her and jumped out the window with her.
All right.
Into a whole new world.
Okay, turn it off.
You're so twisted, oh Jafar.